Hi and welcome to this tutorial for the Selma pullover. Here I'm showing you an overview of how the beginning looks like with the short rows, the ribbing. Here's shown the crew neck option and the first rows of the raglan increases. So you're going to start the design with half double crochet ribbing, either a turtleneck or a crew neck. So check the pattern for specific instructions. And for the next step, we're going to work into the edge horizontally, and we're going to make around 3 single crochet into the edge per section. And here you see the lines going along this ribbing, and I call this a ridge. So each ridge separates one section, and for every section you're going to make 3 single crochet. And when you make this round, think about not working into only one thread, which can create holes. Try to work through this ridge or to work over at least 2 threads. It's a little bit hard to explain, but I hope you understand what I mean. When you have finished this round, you're going to cut the thread. You can obviously use a scissor, not like me, with my hands, and then you're going to put 2 markers, and the pattern tells you where you're going to put them, and you're counting in an anti-clockwise direction. And also be careful not to count the slip stitch, which you have used to close the round, only the single crochet. For the second marker, you continue counting in the same direction, anti-clockwise. Now we're going to start making the short rows, and we're going to attach the thread where you place the first marker. So put your hook through both loops of the stitch, chain 1 to attach the thread, and single crochet in the same stitch. For the rest of the stitches until the end, we're going to work in only the front loop of the stitch. So work in the front loop, single crochet over the seam at the back until you reach the second marker. So you're approaching the second marker, and you're going to work through both loops of the marked stitch. You can take it away, the marker, if it's easier. And you're going to work through both loops of this stitch, and then you're going to turn. Turn without chaining 1, and make sure that the loop is relatively loose, or pull it up a bit, and then you're going to make a regular crochet through both loops into the first stitch. And then we're going to work through the back loop, single crochet through the back loop, and this stitch is essentially to always work the loop that is towards the right side of your work. So for these short rows, we are going to make a number of turns and follow the pattern for the exact stitch count where to turn. But every time we turn, we are working through both loops of the stitch that is stated in the pattern. We turn the same way without chaining 1. Make sure that our thread is relatively loose, and we single crochet through both loops of the first stitch. And then we work in the front loop or back loop depending on which row we are on. And we're going to do this until we have 6 bumps in total, and the bumps are these sudden increases or decreases that are created when we are turning. So there will be 3 bumps on each side, and then there will be a section in the middle of the back which is higher. So here we are reaching the end of the last short row. Once again, cut your yarn, and this is how it's gonna look after the short rows. It's gonna look a little bit ugly, maybe you think, but we are gonna solve this by doing a so-called transition round, or that's what I'm calling it, where we are going to work over these bumps and even them out. And we're going to now work in the main stitch pattern of this design, the waistcoat, chain 1 and skip 1 pattern. So these kind of stairs are calculated so that you should be able to work in a certain way, which I'm going to show you now, over these stairs. And at the same time we're going to increase the stitch count while we are making this transition round. You're going to be working at the bottom of each stair and then at the top, which I'm going to show you in detail very soon. Here I'm just showing you an overview of how the row looks. So this is the first stitch of the stair that we're going to work in on the next round. And for this you have to pick up the yarn again, so unfortunately you get a few ends to weave in, but after this you're not going to have that many more, at least not more than usual. So to know where to start, count the number of stitches stated in the pattern and insert your hook in that stitch. Take your yarn and pull through, and as usual make a chain to attach the thread, and then we're going to work our first single crochet in the same stitch. So these are going to be waistcoat stitches, but for now I'm calling them single crochet. And you chain 1, you skip 1 stitch and you work into the next stitch, and now we're working through both loops. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch and single crochet, and you continue until you reach the first bump. So we're going to end at the top stitch here, that is a bit higher than the next one. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to single crochet in the stitch right below that stitch. So actually we are not skipping 1 stitch, and that's why we are increasing on this round. You continue in the pattern, single crochet, chain 1 and skip 1, and if you have done it correctly you should again make your last stitch into the stitch just before this this bump. Single crochet there, chain 1 and then single crochet into the stitch right after that, which is at the bottom of this so-called stair. Continue in the same way over the next bump. Then work over the stitches at the front until you reach the start of the bumps on the other side. And here we're going to do the same thing, just reversed. So we are starting at the bottom, the stitch just below this, this step, which is basically already worked, but we're working it now again. And then we're gonna continue in the pattern and work into the first stitch of this step. And continue for the next 2 bumps with the same method, and then you're going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. So here we are at the end of the round. We're going to close with a slip stitch, but I just wanted to show that if you are making the stripes pattern, here you want to change to your contrast color, and you're going to do that when you slip stitch to close the round. So instead of pulling through with the main color, pull through with the contrast color, and from then on just work as usual. And if we're talking about the striped pattern, you also have some rounds where you're using both colors. So here I want to show you how to work these. For these rounds, you're gonna change to the other color when you slip stitch the previous round. Then you're gonna start working the first single crochet in that color, but when you pull through, you're gonna do it with in this case, the contrast color. And this is really hard to explain in words, so I'm just going to show you, and I think that's going to be more clear. It's hard to keep up my speech with the instructions. But I hope this makes sense to you. You're basically pulling through always with the other color. I also want to show you how to make the raglan increases. So here I am approaching the raglan stitch, and here I don't have a marker still. I tend to remove the markers. You will do as you feel, but I think in the beginning it can be helpful to have the marker, at least to keep it at the beginning where you started making the raglan increases, because I've found that it can be easy to forget otherwise. The raglan increase is made by increasing in the waistcoat stitch that is before and after the marked stitch, and the increase is going to be a waistcoat stitch, a chain 1 and a waistcoat stitch all in the same stitch. So we're keeping the same stitch pattern all the time without any interruption, just that we are making 2 waistcoat stitches and a chain 1 in between in one stitch. So the marked stitch is always going to be just one waistcoat stitch. Note, however, that you may increase only on the sleeves or the body, for example.